Good evening, Beruchim Habayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight's class was sponsored Leilui Nishmat Golan Ben Edna Hashem Yinkom Damo, an Israeli soldier that was murdered by terrorists. Hashem take revenge for his blood and the blood of all those that died. Al Kedushat Shmo Yitbarach B'meira Amen. Amen. Normally when we say Leilui Nishmat, we say his soul should be B'gan Eden Aliyah with all the tzaddikim. But the Gemara says that Harugei Malchut, those who were killed because they're Jews, otherwise known as Israeli soldiers that died in combat, not by friendly fire, they go to a place in Gan Eden that nobody could even understand. To the point that in Halakha it's brought down that you don't even say a eulogy on them, because there's nobody worthy of saying a eulogy on such a person. That's how high in Gan Eden they are. So I'm a little bit unsure what to add on, so I just leave it as Leilui Nishmat, and Hashem will do with it what's necessary for the soul. I want to sell you on an idea. It's not my idea. It's an idea that Gaon HaTzadik Maran Rav Shteinman Zecher Tzadik Levacha Zchuto Yagen Aleinu sold a group of people on when he, Rav Shteinman lived a very long life. At a certain age, traveling becomes hard. When you're young, traveling's exciting. I went here, I went there, I went to Florida. A few weeks ago, somebody tells me I went to Florida on a $14 ticket. Alright. That's like an excitement when you're a kid. But when you get older, it's not so exciting anymore. Especially been there, done it. And when you get really old, and there's medical issues, and then you for sure don't want to travel. Even a car ride becomes a headache. Rav Shteinman, even though he had a gil muflag, he was an old man. There was one point, I think he lived to like 103 or something, maybe more. It's hard to know about these golim exactly when, because I'm not sure that they knew themselves how old they were. But he was over 100 by a bunch for sure. And he would still go places. And it was a phenomenon. It made no sense, not medically, not physically, and why. And his whole thing was to be mezaket rabim, because if he goes somewhere, people get chizuk from it, or he could give over a message or something. And to be mezaket rabim, it was worth it for him to make all that effort. So in Tafshin Ayin Bet, Shem was a very old man already. It's like almost the end of his life. Shlema went all the way to a northern town in Israel called Carmiel. It's a far ride from Bnei Brak. Without traffic, an hour and a half, probably more. And he went to be mechazik the community there. And I want to quote from you what the rabbi of Carmiel said over the highlights of that speech that he gave. Because I think you're going to walk away with a grand slam over here. This was good. Well, everything Rav Shteinman said was good. It's not like he needs my approval. But I think there's a lot of a big chidush over here. There's a Gemara that the Gemara is a Masach Betzad of Tezdayin Amud Aleph. It's a Gemara that I would like to believe that we all know by heart. The Gemara says, Tanya, Amru alav al Shammai HaZaken. They said about Shammai HaZaken. Kol Yamav, his entire life, Haya Ochel Lichvod Shabbat. He would eat in honor of Shabbat. Matzah be'emana'ah, if he would find a nice animal, Omer Zu Shabbat. It wasn't, back in the time, it wasn't like today that you went into the butcher and, the kosher butcher, if there is, and you get a meat ready and packaged and cut. It was a process. You had to get an animal and then get a shochet and then make sure it comes out okay and kosherize it. By the time you had the meat, you lost your appetite already. Maybe that's why they didn't have obesity back in the day, because by the time they had the food, they didn't want to eat anymore. But that's just my theory. That wasn't based on any fact. He would go, let's say Sunday, he sees a nice animal. He says, you know what? Zul Shabbat, this animal on my Shabbat table, that's the one I want. Buys it. Monday, now he has this whole cow. An animal, not a piece. He didn't buy a steak. He bought an animal. Now Monday he's going. The Gemara says he saw another animal. And the animal looked nicer than Sunday's animal. Comes the Gemara and says, Menichat et hashniya Ve'ochel et harishona. He would buy the second one, save that one for Shabbat, and the first one he would eat. How much could you eat already? The answer is very simple. Shammai was Beit Shammai at a yeshiva, so he would feed the students at the yeshiva. Give him to eat. Unbelievable. And like this every day. If it happened 6 times throughout the week, so 6 times he would go through the process. As many times as it was. He bought something, found something nicer. Let's bring it down to our terms, because we don't relate to finding an animal, bringing it, slaughtering it. Right? That's not something that we do. So in our terms. Imagine one week, a lady says, you know what, this business of short Fridays is really not healthy for anybody. Definitely not for Shabbat Kodesh. Because after candlelighting, I'm still trying to figure out how's Shabbat going to be ready. Starting early, Tuesday. And Tuesday she bakes a beautiful cake. This is going to be her dessert for Friday night. Puts it in the freezer. Wednesday afternoon she's sitting on the couch reading a magazine. Happens to be a food magazine. Sees a recipe for a cake that's much nicer and better. How many women are going to say, you know what, forget about that cake, I'm starting all over again. New dessert, because it's nicer and better. Nobody, right? Let's be real. Not going to happen. Shammai, that's what he did. Meaning there's a big test over here. It's not an easy thing. There's an actual test. Right? The Gemara says, also, that means Shammai started thinking about how's he going to have food for Shabbat and planning his food for Shabbat right when Shabbat was over. Sunday, which al pi halacha motzei Shabbat Sunday already, right? From Shkia, or Tzet HaKochavim. He's already planning his next Friday night dinner. So his whole life revolved around the planning of Shabbat. Hillel HaZaken, it says, Midah acheret hayta lo. He behaved differently. Shekol ma'asav l'shem shamayim. That all his actions were l'shem shamayim. You have to understand, it's a complicated Gemara to explain. What, and Shammai wasn't l'shem shamayim? Of course he was. Whatever that means, it's for a different day. Shne'emar Baruch Hashem yom yom. He said, God is blessed every day, meaning God will send me what I need for that day. So on Sunday, he wasn't busy worrying about let's find an animal for Friday. We'll deal with it as it comes. He started preparing for Shabbat towards the end of the week. In summary, Shammai would start Sunday preparing for Shabbat, even at the expense of re-preparing over and over again. Rashi explains it, Mechad Shabbat l'Shabbatayich, from one Shabbat to another one. Mechad b'Shabbat, from Sunday already. Shelach ten libcha l'Shabbat haba. I'll give you a heart for the next Shabbat. Make sure you're ready for the next Shabbat. Hillel had a different hanaga, that he was somech on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he's going to give him what he needs. Seems to be, there is a machloket between Shammai and Hillel. What's the right way to be ready for Shabbat? To start Sunday, or to start realistically Thursday, let's say. Whatever it takes. Which is a better way? That's what it seems like, right? That's the simple understanding in the Gemara. Comes the Bach. The Bach is in Siman Resh Mem Bet and writes, Mashma de lo pligi. He understood from the Gemara that there's no machloket. There's no argument between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. And this is extremely important whether it's a machloket or not. Because if it's a machloket, so when you have an argument between Shammai and Hillel, we go al pi halacha according to Beit Hillel in this world. So that means we start preparing for Shabbat on Thursday, or whenever we want. If there's no machloket, so then we have to understand what it means and how does that apply to us halachically. So the Bach writes, Mashma de lo pligi, there was no machloket. Ela shezeh kach haya midato, this one, it happened to be, that's the way he behaved. V'zeh kach haya midato, and the other one, that's the way he behaved. והרשות ביד כל אדם לאחוז במנהג שמאי הזקן או במנהג הלל הזקן. Every person could choose, do I want to go with Shammai's custom or Hillel's custom? There's no halacha in this. It's a matter of connection. Shammai felt that the right way to go about it is this way, but neither one preached it as a halacha, as a law that you have to keep. So therefore each person should behave the way he'd like to. Comes the Bach and concludes an interesting thing. And we have to think deep down if this is really right to us or not, meaning if we live up to this. Ve'aidna, but today, meaning in today's days, the Bach, by the way, was my great-great-grandfather, 10 generations ago. I'm the 10th generation from the Bach. Zchutei Yagen Aleinu. Ve'aidna, na'agu alma, the world's custom is, kishamai hazaken. We do like Bet Shammai, meaning we start preparing for Shabbat on Sunday already. I don't know. We might want to consult with the family if that's really what happens or not. V'chen piresh Rashi. And this is what Rashi HaKadosh explains the pasuk Parashat Yitro. This is in Shmot Perek Chaf Pasuk Chet. Over there it says, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho, right? Everybody remembers that pasuk. So what does Rashi write? This is a Rashi that for some reason, I don't know, it's less famous. It's not so, it should be the most popular Rashi in the speaking world. Tnu lev, lisko tamid et Yom HaShabbat. Pay attention to always remember Shabbat. She'im nizamen lecha chefetz yafeh, if you happen to be somewhere and you see something nice, te'eh mazmino leShabbat. Order it immediately for Shabbat. This week we had something in America called Cyber Monday. And the American culture is people love buying things on sale. Especially when the sale is a very interesting sale. The item cost $1,000 on Friday. On Monday, the list price went up to $1,500, and now it's 30% off. The sale is more expensive than the retail, but it's on sale. That's the American culture. That's just the way we are. And so I want to ask you a question. Don't answer because it's going to be embarrassing. How many of you on Cyber Monday ordered something, a nice dish for Shabbat? You bought all different stupid things on Amazon. What did you buy for Shabbat on Monday? What does Rashi say? If you saw something nice, buy it right away for Shabbat. And what are you doing when you do that? You're keeping the mitzvah. This is the way Rashi understood the actual mitzvah. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho. Zachor means remember. What does remember mean? The whole week have in mind, oh, this is nice, let me have it for Shabbat. Today it's the opposite. You bought a new pair of shoes, you can't even control yourself to wait until Shabbat to wear it. Why are you wearing it on Tuesday? Wait for Shabbat, put it on Shabbat. At least that much. Rashi tells you clearly, Zachor, pay attention, remember, keep it in your mind. You went somewhere during the week, keep in mind, you found something nice, keep it for Shabbat. Fine. This is the way the Bach says. Comes the Bach and says, if that's the case, there's no machloket between Shammai and Hillel. Hillel was on very high levels of faith, so to him it was as if he had everything every second. So that he found something new didn't mean that he found it. By him it's as if he has it. Because if I want it, so Hashem's giving it to me. So that's why he didn't have to wait until Friday. He didn't have to start on Sunday. But Shammai didn't believe that in religion you rely on God. He says, religion is my job to do. So he proactively went and went about getting nice things for Shabbat beginning Sunday. By the way, there's a very, very brilliant, sharp chidush that comes from the holy Ger Rebbe, the Imrei Emet, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Zchutei Yagen Aleinu. Listen to this one. This one I loved. I love everything the Imrei Emet says, but you know this. I learned this last Shabbat. I came across it, and it made my weekend. The Imrei Emet writes like this. He says, at the end of the day, we have to be practical. He says the Bach went and not twisted, like squeezed that it's not really a machloket. He said the Gemara says clearly that it is a machloket. He says this was his way of doing it, and that was his way of doing it. That's not a machloket. And if that's not a machloket, so maybe we should just say that there's no machloket in the whole Shas. When Abaye and Rav argue, we'll say that there's no machloket. He did it this way, and he did it that way. Why is this an important question? Because he follows up. He says, so it is a machloket, not like the Bach. And if it is a machloket, then what do we just say? The rule is, except for Yal Kagam, except for specific cases, Yal Kagam's Abaye Rav, sorry. When Beit Shammai and Bet Hillel argue, almost always, we posek the halacha like Bet Hillel. The Gemara explains why. Shayu shomim divrei chaveram. They used to hear other people's opinion first. So there's different reasons why. And that's in Olam Hazeh. B'yimot HaMashiach, when Mashiach comes, we're going to be posek halacha like Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai was the stringent one. Beit Hillel was the lenient one. There's a great message over here for those who preach halacha. Lately there's a trend that young kids teach halacha on YouTube. Very dangerous trend, by the way. Because they never learned halacha themselves in a normal way. What? Are you crazy? Did you get smicha? Were you Mishamesh G'dolei Yisrael? Did you sit on a bezdin? You're already putting YouTube clips of halachot. You don't know halacha. And I listened to some of them to see, and unfortunately, yeah. You can't even say you're Mekayem Mitzvah Talmud Torah when you're listening to these things. If anything, you're Mekayem Mitzvah Bitul Zman. You're wasting your time. Because you're putting in your head stupidity. You're posek halacha. You have to, did you learn like yeshiva 6, 7, 8, 10 years, get smicha, go through 20, 30 tests on the Shulchan Aruch? You're giving halacha shiurim and publicizing them? You want to corrupt 5 people in a small synagogue, fine, but publicizing them? It irks me. It takes my guts out when I get these clips. How could it happen? But yeah, anything goes. You know what it says? Today it's very easy to be a Talmid Chacham because there's always someone who's a bigger Amaretz than you. You know, predicted that the Meshech Chochmah. The Meshech Chochmah writes that there's going to be a time in Jewish history. The Gemara says that how do you know Mashiach's coming? A woman's going to come with a chicken to ask if it's kosher or not, and there's not going to be any posek that's going to know. So the optimists in the speaking world said a nice pshat on this Gemara, that there's going to come a day that there'll be so many kosher butchers that you won't need to ask questions. You know, the butcher took care of it already. Fine, that's a very beautiful, optimistic pshat. I love it. But those of us who are more realistic understand that that's not what the Gemara meant. And you have to understand, how could it be? What, there'll really be a generation that there won't be anybody that'll know how to be posek? So, the Meshech Chochmah says an unbelievable thing. He says, the Gemara says very specific words, that a lady's going to come with a chicken to ask, and there's not going to be somebody who's qualified to answer. It doesn't say there's not going to be somebody who's going to answer. People will answer, but they're not going to be qualified to answer. He says that's what's going to be B'yimot HaMashiach. And those who are accessible to be posek halachot and freely are posek halachot, they never learned. They don't know what they're talking about. They read halachot in some shortcut sefer, they understood it wrong, and boom, they're posek halacha. It's the Meshech Chochmah. It's scary. He predicted it. And he says, and how's that going to happen? He says, very simple. He said, when a generation's all Talmidei Chachamim, so the Chacham, meaning the rabbi, has to be a huge Talmid Chacham because he has serious competition. They're going to rip him apart if he says something wrong. When nobody knows anything, so you could sell whatever you want. Yeah, amen, yeah, Rabbi Chananya, we love you, Rabbi, here's your check, and go on. There's nobody to challenge. There's nobody to challenge. If there's nobody to challenge, then there's a problem. There's no standard. There's nothing to raise you. I have a friend who was a rabbi in one of these out-of-town communities. Recently he quit, he moved back to Lakewood, and he opened a small kollel. And I told him, what are you, crazy? Over there you had it made. You had a small community. During the week there wasn't even a minyan. You were able to do what you want all week. You came Shabbat, showed your face, spoke for 10 minutes by Sudah Shlishit, and they paid you a few $100,000 a year. I said, now you came to Lakewood, you get no salary, you have to become a fundraiser for 6, 7 guys in a small kollel. This was a suicide move. What'd you do? So they told me, let me tell you why. Because I don't want to be an Amaretz. I said, what does that have to do with anything? So if anything over there, you had a good living, you could learn peacefully. He said, you could, but the Yetzirah is bigger. Because over here, I have 7 lions that are ready to eat me apart from morning to night, and anything I say and any move I make. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Prove it not. Your shiur is not right. I have a proof against you. So I have to sit and sweat and learn all night long and all day long to make sure that when I say the shiur, it actually comes across right. And I'm 100% sure about it. Over there, I could have told them that today's Rosh Hashanah, even though it's Purim, they don't know the difference. Rosh Hashanah, where's the shofar? Let's get it over with. I could have said whatever I want. I could have gotten away with anything. They didn't know anything. He said, I was scared for myself. I just realized I'm becoming an Amaretz. I'm literally becoming a nobody. So I ran away from it. There is such a thing, by the way. Anyway, so the man says, so it has to be that there is a machloket. If there's a machloket, so we're posek halacha like Hillel in this world, which we see that in this world, koach te'etera adifa. You have to look to make the halacha accessible and lenient for people. That's why we are posek for Bet Hillel. Yimot HaMashiach, when everybody will be as holy as could be, then yeah, of course, Beit Shammai, yeah, sure. But right now, we go to the deal. So if that's the case, Rashi is a mefaresh hakatuv, mefaresh hamikra. He explains the pasuk. Why did Rashi explain the pasuk in a way that's exactly the opposite of the halacha? Rashi explained the pasuk, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat, remember Shabbat, starting Sunday already. It's against the halacha. Why did he explain the pasuk, the opposite of the halacha? That's the Imrei Emet's question. I think it's a tough one, no? He's onto something. Comes the Imrei Emet and says, you have to be a Hasidic Rebbe to say this in the best way. It's a brilliance. It's a feeling. He said, what do we sing on Shabbat? We say in the prayers also that. What's Shabbat titled? Besides Queen. Me'ein olam haba. He says, really, in Shammai and Hillel, posek halacha like Beit Hillel. But when it comes to preparing for Shabbat, being that Shabbat is like olam haba, like atid lavo, so we're posek halacha. In this case, like Shammai. Now, obviously, if you want to get technical, it's not 100% precise, because in Ilchot Shabbat we're posek like Hillel. But for the concept of it, it's a beautiful concept. Because that's why Rashi was able to go with Shammai and not with Hillel, even though normally he would have to go with Hillel. So far we concluded from here that we have to maybe start changing our ways and live a week that we think about Shabbat beginning Saturday night. Shabbat's over, we have to say, no, let's start preparing for next Shabbat. But let's take it a little bit further. Comes Rav Shteiman and he writes an unbelievable thing. Rav Shteiman said that he wants to make an observation. He said he heard in the name of the Chavetz Chaim. I don't know if he said he heard from the Chavetz Chaim or the name of the Chavetz Chaim. That I don't know for sure. Don't hold me to it. But one of the two is for sure true. He heard from the Chavetz Chaim. The Chavetz Chaim said that after 120, a person has to face God. Muhammad Shabbat talks about it, in other places as well. And they ask him a list of questions. Nasata v'natata be'emunah, kavata itim laTorah, and a long list. All different questions. Not everybody could, check off the boxes. Lo aleinu v'lo alechem. I don't like talking this way. I feel uncomfortable with it because I also have to do tshuva before everybody. But to come say I did everything right, halavai, amen. But that's not always the case. And God, we always loves us all, and He's not waiting with a sledgehammer to get anybody. But at the same time, He's also not a comedian. So when He wrote the Torah, He actually meant business. So He comes to a person and He says, hello buddy, you had Tayag mitzvot, which out of them, in your era, you barely had 50, and what happened? It's like they were all null and void. You didn't even care. It's not right. And now a person has a problem. Lo aleinu v'lo alechem, it's hard for me to even say the words out of my mouth. If a person doesn't have a good case of what happened, which in today's generation there is a case, our youth are all anusim and that, but if a person doesn't have, so then, there's a cause and effect. The Gemara says in many places in Bavli there's something called Gehenom. I don't know what that is. I once gave a shiur to explain it. That was more than enough. But it doesn't sound like it's a fun thing, whatever it is. It's not Dream America Mall. That's for sure not. Yeah, what's wrong with promoting a business of 3 years? Persian ballet tzedakah. It's a good thing. No. So what's the solution? The solution is you got to beat the system. And that's why the Gemara gives all different solutions to people. How to be nitzal and medina shel gehenom, to be saved. I call it fire insurance. Not that I actually think gehenom is a fire, that's a separate question, but some sort of insurance. Rav Shteiman says either he heard in the name of or from the Chavetz Chaim itself, and I think there's other sources before that, by the way. But Mishum Kvodo of the Chavetz Chaim I'm not quoting. That Chavetz Chaim said if a person does Tosefet Shabbat, meaning he takes in Shabbat early, let's say Shabbat starts this week, I don't know what time, 4:10, 4:15, something like that. And he starts Shabbat at 4 o'clock. So even if, God forbid, after 120 he ended up in a mess, and his direction is not so positive, at least the fire of hell is going to go off at 4 o'clock instead of at 4:15. Because on Shabbat, Gehenom doesn't work. And if Shabbat goes out at 5 whatever, and he took it out at 5:30, Rabbeinu Tam, or 5:40, whatever it is, so then at least this is what the Chafetz Chaim said. And that's why the Chafetz Chaim used to very strongly push. He had an agenda, literally an agenda, wherever he went to speak, and that, everybody knows, you hear the word Chafetz Chaim, what do you think right away? Lashon Hara. Believe it or not, the Chafetz Chaim had 2 other agendas that came before Lashon Hara. Agenda number 1 was Chesed, the Sefer he wrote Ahavat Chesed, and agenda number 2 was that people should start Shabbat early and end it late. This was in the Chafetz Chaim's blood. He wrote about it in all Sfarim, and he spoke about it, and any quote from him, and so many chidushim that he wrote on other subjects, completely tied it in somehow. This was really something that was very important to the Chafetz Chaim. Rav Shteinman says an unbelievable thing. Rav Shteinman says, if that's the case, based on this Chafetz Chaim, what he said, he wants to say that 1 + 1 = 2, we could add on another chidush. Let's say a person starts preparing for Shabbat on Thursday. So that means by him, Shabbat started on Thursday already. That's what he's busy with Thursday night. So after 120, his fire of Gehenom goes off Thursday night already. And now let's say you started preparing for Shabbat on Sunday. Or on Motzei Shabbat. That's it, you're good. There is no Gehenom. Here it is. This is wild. This is in a different league, this Chidush. This is completely in a different league. And this is not some sort of way of sweet talking you, because after 120 in Shamayim, you can call Rav Shteinman to Bezdin and say, this is the way you were posek, I went like you, and case closed. And it's his problem to deal with it with Hashem. Rav Shteinman was a Gdol Ador. And over there, Rav Shteinman said that he's an old man and he can't prepare for Shabbat. He doesn't have the physical strength, and everything's done for him by his helpers and his grandchildren or whatever. But he says, but I need a protection in Shamayim. Rav Shteinman was scared. He needs a protection. What shall we say? So he says he found himself a solution. That he learns Hilchot Shabbat all week. And learning Hilchot Shabbat is the biggest preparation for Shabbat. Because you can't keep Shabbat without knowing Hilchot Shabbat, like it's Mivuar in the Akdamat Mishnah Berurah Chelek Gimel. How do you keep a mitzvah without knowing what the laws of the mitzvah are? Impossible. It's a joke. He says the whole week, he learns Hilchot Shabbat, and like this, he protects himself. And then there's a machloket in how he concluded the last sentence of this speech. Well, the rabbi of Carmiel, he says that Rav Shteinman quoted that he doesn't know for sure, but he hopes that this is the way they're posek upstairs. Others say, and when you listen to the recording, it's very hard to hear the words, it wasn't so clear. Maybe Mishamayim, they purposely made it not clear. That he knows from Shamayim that that's the way they're posek. So it's 2 opposite extremes of how he concluded it. But the idea is an idea either way. And there's a Chafetz Chaim that said the idea, and others that said the idea. So, and I'm telling you, from Chilat Kodam, we could bring proofs many generations back as well to this. Okay. But so why did I wake up tonight to talk about being involved with getting ready for Shabbat? So now I'll give you a few more chidushim. 2 more. These 2, I don't have a source for. So I definitely don't know if in Shamayim they agree with them. But I hope so. Because if they do, then it puts us all in a lot better of a position. And as it's brought down in Chazal, Ein Dayan Ela Ma She'einav Ro'ot, we can only go what we see and understand, and we don't have proof otherwise. So, this is what I see and understand. Let's say a person doesn't have the discipline to learn Hilchot Shabbat all week. I wish we did, and it's a good thing to do. It should be encouraged strongly. I think I said in a shir a few months ago, I once heard from Rav Yaakov Yagen, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha, I was very close to, that he had told me that if a girl, he said this specifically for girls, wants to get married easily and whatever, then she should take upon herself that every Friday night by the meal, she'll learn with her family or friends. That's what he told me in those words. I guess he understood some families wouldn't be interested. Hilchot Shabbat. And all the doors of Siyat Dishmaya when it comes to marriage will open for her. That's what he said. Why? It was a Chassid Shavot. Shabbat is called a Kala and a Malka and that. Fine. That's what he said. I don't know. Zgulas, there's no end, so. Rav Yaakov Yagen was definitely a big tzaddik, so I'm just quoting. But let's say a person's not so disciplined to learn Hilchot Shabbat. Or it's hard for him, he doesn't have anybody to teach it to him, he doesn't know how to learn on his own. There's all different reasons why. And let's say one is not, he's single, he doesn't even know where he's going to be Shabbat, so how's he going to prepare for where he doesn't know where he's going to be? So it's not so practical for him. So then what? So he's lost, he doesn't have a solution? So I'll tell you an interesting thing. I once went into Maran Rav Yosef Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha to discuss with him an interesting subject. In Brooklyn, I gave a speech once by a Chinese auction. It was a lot of years ago. And over there I said a story of a girl that I knew who heard a shiur about the importance of dressing nice for Shabbat and buying nice things and whatever, and then Hashem says, Lavu alai v'ani poreah, and the words I used was, a credit card is Lavu alai, and God says he's going to pay the bill, and well, something like that. And it was a crazy story. She racked herself up a pretty large bill, had no way to pay it, and she came to me with complaints, look what you caused, and somebody overheard the conversation, and he said, what, you spent the money on Shabbat? And you did it with faith? I want that mitzvah, I'm paying the bill. I said, see, Hashem paid it back. He sent somebody to pay it back. So I said this story. Some chacham that I have a great respect for over there didn't like the story. I guess maybe he doesn't do that, so he wasn't on that level yet. Maybe, I don't know what it was, but something or the other bothered him. And he said a shiur to say, what is this? It's reckless, or that. So I called him up. Unlike him that went to say a shiur, I did the right thing. I called him up and I said, if you have a problem, so send me a tshuva and halakha to disprove, but don't just say free words. He realized his mistake, he apologized quickly. We met in a kollel to discuss the subject. We learned the subject from every angle, and we ended up concluding like this. Lavu alai v'ani poreah as if it's really l'shem shamayim. Meaning if the reason why you're doing it is really because Hashem said so. But if you're just looking for an excuse to buy your crazy things, and now you're going to blame it on Shabbat and think that God's going to pay your bills, that's a joke. It doesn't work that way. That we both agreed on, we concluded, and it's very, very simple that that's the conclusion. I said, if that's the case, so the protection of Shabbat really depends on how much L'Shem Shamayim is involved. What does a person do in life that he knows, no matter what's L'Shem Shamayim? Not much, right? Nothing. There is something, believe it or not. This doesn't come from me. This I went to discuss with Rav Yaakov Yagen, he was the one who said it. I asked him like this. Let's say a girl got married, Shah Tova, and she works very, very hard and makes some money, and her husband brings home an $82 or $84, whatever it is, a week paycheck from Lakewood Yeshiva, 25 cents an hour. 35 cents an hour, whatever it comes out to. I'm not, Lakewood Yeshiva is my home, is my life. I didn't say that in a cynical way, nobody should misunderstand. I'm showing it just the opposite. I say it in a complimentary way, look at the Mesirut Nefesh that these Kol guys have. And in a double complimentary way, look at the Mesirut Nefesh that their wives have. Darko shel olam, the way of the world is that the man of the house brings in the money. Not that the lady goes to work and the man sits and learns. There's a new thing. For 100 years maybe, whatever it is. And Ashrayim, Neshot Yisrael Tzidkaniyot. No. So I said, so Al Pi Halacha, she has a zchut to this Torah, 50-50. According to the Gaon, there's a chidush, 100%. He says, because Nele Echad Nele Mea. What happens if she thinks her husband's going to learn? And in reality, he went to drink coffee and smoke cigarettes with his friends. He went to first Seder, he wasted his time, he didn't learn a Jewish word. After 120, it's not her fault that she didn't learn, that he didn't learn. Does she get rewarded as if he learned or not? So Avadius told me she's actually better off in a way. It's a chas v'shalom, they should all learn, nobody should waste time. But because it's definitely not her fault. And she, with her innocence, sent him to learn. So at that point, Hashem doesn't even look at the learning. He gives a reward for the highest level learning in the world possible. Perfect. Meaning, the girls in Lakewood are very protected, because they're going straight to Gan Eden no matter what. The boys, if they're learning, yeah. If not, I don't know. Might even be stealing. Your wife's going to work to make money for you to learn, and you're not learning. You might even be stealing up Yalacha. It's really not simple. It's not a joke. No. This Rav Yaakov told me. I think it's simple like that. So if that's the case, I said, Chacham, can we take this a step further? They said, what? I said, let's say my Shabbat's not on the highest level. Keep the halachot, of course, or whatever, but I don't know how much L'Shem Shamayim is in it and how much I love it. Whatever it is. But I go and give charity to make people's Shabbat more pleasant, that they should be able to buy food respectfully, and they should have nice things for Shabbat, and they should... Does their Shabbat count for me as well, or not? Who's what I asked? Does their Shabbat count for me as well or not? So he told me, what's the question? Their Oneg Shabbat becomes your Kvod Shabbat. Because you were the vehicle, and because of that, they were able to respect Shabbat. He said, more than that, even if it didn't help at the end. I see this a lot of times. I help out a family have Shabbat, and then an emergency happens. They're in the hospital. They weren't even home. So we sent them a gorgeous Shabbat with everything in the world, but it went to the garbage. But the intentions were there. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mitzaref machshava l'maaseh. Just like the girl who sent the husband to learn and he didn't end up learning. So the most pure level of keeping Shabbat, at that point, the person just got credit for. Now on Shabbat, you're not allowed to give charity. You can pledge charity, you can't give charity. So that means, at the latest, you do it Thursday or Friday. And if you're practical, people need the money Wednesday already to go shopping, so you do it already Tuesday. So that means your Shabbat just started on Tuesday on the highest level. Now you understand why I established the Shabbat fund? And why I spit blood every week, literally, to make it stay open, even though I'm beating every odd out there, because Hashem, throws me every curveball along the way, because the Yitzhak can't handle this holiness, because it's killing him. It's driving him crazy. It's selfish. I just want a protection mechanism. I just want a way to protect myself. That's one idea. But now I want to give you the kill. I think the subject tonight was something about success. People that are impaired from being successful individuals, and this is the Grand Slam. I'm ending right after this. Early now, I'm ending, because I want you to walk away with this. People that aren't successful, I would like to believe, I'm not talking about people who are insane, it's not their fault. I'm about sane people. That nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to be a pathetic loser. I don't believe such a thing exists. You know anybody like that? I don't. And I've seen a lot of horror in my life. I deal with a lot of people's pain and suffering all day, every day. Never seen anybody that woke up in the morning and said, today I'm going to have a bad day. L'Shem Shamayim, all the way. I don't know. I know even people that do very stupid things. But even that they don't plan. They just do it because nebuch, they're addicted, whatever it is. But nobody gets up and says, today I'm going to be an idiot. That's not the way people behave, right? I'll tell you even more than that. Even guys or girls, we should never know. They go out to bars at night and get drunk and whatever. We should never know. Nobody goes and says, tonight I'm going to get wasted. That happens maybe by some types of goyim. We shouldn't know about them. But we always say, I'm going for one drink, and then, of course, the drink needs a shidduch nebuch, so it becomes a second one. And then 2 is zugot, so it's not so simple, so we'll make a zimun. And then you need zimun ba'asara, and by then you're drunk. Fine. But why? Because a person on his own is going to say, well, I'm going to become crazy. People are normal, right? But most people don't succeed. Success is a very uncommon thing. And success is not measured in how much money you make. It's in how you lead your life overall. Why not? Because there are obstacles that come along the way, throughout the day or throughout the night. And those obstacles handicap us. Some of them are physical, some of them are emotional, some of them are financial, some of them are influences from other places, each one with his life story. What are these obstacles called in the language of Chazal? Nisyonot, tests. What else is a test defined in the language of Chazal? Yisurim, suffering. If somebody la'aleinu is very sick, so what do we say? Oh, what a test he's going through. What do you mean he's sick? You should say, oh, what a sickness he's going through. No, it's haynuach, it's the same thing. Yisurim and nisyonot go hand in hand, except for Yisurim shel ahava, which is a separate subject. So I want to tell you what I think is a grand slam, far-fetched, but all right, I like unconventional things. And if this is true, it is the biggest and the best I've ever said in my career. Why do you get Yisurim? So if you're a very righteous person on the highest of highest levels like tzaddikim, so there is a concept of Yisurim shel ahava that would take many shiurim to explain. Bli neder, maybe one day, if Hashem gives us the life and the health, we'll do it. But most of us, we get it, if something goes wrong in life, what do we say? Kaparat avonot. What does that mean? That we also know, even though we don't realize, that struggle, suffering comes to cleanse ourselves for Gan Eden. It's better to suffer a little bit in this world than a lot in that world. As the Gemara says, Havivin Yisurim. Yisurim are very beloved. Of course, Lo'en v'lo scharam, we should never know. But at the same time, there is a positive element to them. Ad kan, you with me? So wait a second. Hashem sends you struggles to save you from Gehenna. They shouldn't have to suffer after 120. If you put yourself in a situation that either way you're not going to Gehenna, because the fire of Gehenna for you can't be turned on because you have a protection mechanism, then there's no reason to give you suffering. Because nothing to cleanse you from, you're not going anyway. And to be arrogant and say you're on such a level of a tzaddik of Yisurim shel ahava, I don't know, I don't deal with arrogant people. That means, listen to what's going on here. Based on what the Chafetz Chaim said, and what Rav Steinman said, and what was said before by the Bach, and of course before that by Rashi, but the way we said it in the backwards chronicle order because of the way we presented our case. And based on the Imrei Emetz Chidush, it comes out a very simple thing. If you become a person that's actively involved in preparing yourself, whether it's halachically or physically or for nice things or whatever it's going to be, or planning or helping others charity-wise, or all of the above, which is really what you should be doing, for Shabbat, starting a minute after Shabbat Saturday night, then Hashem is going to take away all your suffering in life. There's no point in it. You don't need it anymore. You're clean. I think that's a good cure for a lot of illness out there. I think that's a good cure for a lot of people's struggles and problems and emotional issues and other things that they go through. And I also think that maybe when this goes famous, people will start doing it and we'll be able to start sharing great stories about this. I have already great stories about it, but tonight I want to leave you with this, and I want you to provide me the next stories. But yeah, literally. I think, we did the math, no? I think that's the outcome. The fire of Gehenom doesn't burn for as long as you respected Shabbat, or were involved with Shabbat. That's what comes out over here. From the Chafetz Chaim, the way Rav Steinman heard it, the Bach, the way he quotes Rashi, and the Imrei Emet, the way he understands the Machloket Shammai and Hillel and the Gemara and Beitzah. Daf Tet Zayin Amud Aleph. If the whole point in suffering and tests is to cleanse a person in this world, or the main point, there are other reasons. Yisurim shel ahava, there are other cases. But besides for those cases, then the majority of the suffering of the world will be able to solve by being people who live and breathe Shabbat. And here's my finishing sentence. I said this over Talmid Chacham today on the phone, because I always like, when I say these crazy far-fetched things, to get some sort of approval at least. So he told me, what's your ayah? So I said, I just built you a case. He said, no, but you need a punchline, a rayah to the actual concept. I said, Chazal say that if Yisrael would keep 2 Shabbatot, immediately Mashiach will come. What else do Chazal say? When Mashiach comes, Olam keminhago noheg. The world continues the way it is. Nothing changes. Only years later, there'll be Tchiyat HaMetim, then the world will change. But initially, for at least 40 years, according to the Zohar, the world's going to continue the way it is. You're even going to go to work, believe it or not. There's going to be a few fundamental differences. There'll be no Yetzirah and no suffering. Those are the two differences that'll be, for sure. Maybe there's more also, but those two for sure. Listen to this. I tell this Talmid Chacham, you kept 2 Shabbatot, Mashiach comes. Why 2? Why not 1? Why not 3? Why not 4? So of course the Gemara explains why 2, and the Rishonim explain. Could be to B'chinav Zachor V'Shamor. There's other reasons. There's all different reasons that's brought down in Chazal. I said 2 is very simple, because we want you to finish 1 and be able to, from that Motzei Shabbat, to be involved with the Shabbat until the following Shabbat when you keep it. And at that point, you had a Gehenom-free week. How do you keep the world Gehenom-free? You bring Mashiach. So Chazal say, if they'll keep 2 Shabbatot, meaning from one Saturday night until the next Friday night, they'll be busy with Shabbat, miyad and migalim, that's it. There's no more purpose for Galut anymore. We don't have to cleanse ourselves through exile anymore. Mashiach can come. And he said, I love it, and he hung up. And then I called him back. I was insulted. He hung up on me. He said, any extra word would have ruined it. Bye. And he hung up again. So with that, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom U'Vorach.